What is up, YouTube? How are you doing? So I haven't posted in a few days. Haven't had any like big crazy things going on, and I wasn't really trying to force content. It's just been kind of me in the garage. But I've been tinkering a little bit with the S13, and I got a few things done with it, so that I'm going to show you guys right now. So bear with me, it's going to be a little talky. But as you can see, there's a few more things in the engine bay than there was the last time you guys watched. Now, I got the brake master in with all the lines. We got my coolant overflow shoved right here. We got my ISR power steering kit that I have, half hooked up. The reservoir is mounted right here. Got my PBM mid-mount intercooler all mocked up. Thing's so much nicer than it was last year. I did a lot of shaving on the radiator support before I painted it to make it fit a lot better. And I mocked it up so it fits perfectly now. I put a little washer there. In here. And I was actually able to utilize my old washers from my SR valve cover. These little washers right here, so it wouldn't just dig into the paint and it sits up nice. I know, I thought that was cool. So I also got my OEM Sylvia headlight brackets in, so that's all set. We gotta put the hood latch on still. And we also got my subframe in and my sway bar in from Logan Steel. They actually powder coated both pieces for me, the subframe and the sway bar, of course, and they look absolutely amazing. It really makes my rack relocation mod that I did look OEM, and I'm super happy with it. Logan Steel always kills it. The powder coating process is amazing. Not only do they sandblast all of the old rust, but they put on the new powder coat surface, which will allow my subframe to be strong and look gorgeous for years to come, and I'm really pumped about that. So of course, I'll put their website in my description. If you guys want to check them out, see what they could do for you, of course, give them a call. But besides that, so on top of everything in the engine bay, I took my time and I de-rusted everything in my rear wheel arches, completely cleaned them up, degreased them, primered and steeled all the exposed metal, and underbodied the arches so it looks nice and OEM. So I'm super happy on how this came out. The arches look OEM, fresh, brand new, and I couldn't be happier. Now with all four of my wheel arches done, the car's looking fresh and I'm really loving it. Now I really just need to do underneath of the car, but that's a whole different story. So my goal for today is going to be getting this big old clunky messy chassis harness to fit underneath my dash. Now if you guys missed the previous video, I decided to tuck it inside the car instead of having it in its normal location, which it wraps around the front of the car, because the engine bay looks good and I want to keep it looking good, fresh and clean with no wires in it. I don't care, I'm a butthurt. It's not much more work, it doesn't make things too much more difficult, so I figured it was worth it. We have the time. There's a few things we need to do to get this ready to get underneath the dash, and I now have all the parts for it so we can get to work. As you can see, there's quite a bit of extra room underneath the dash. I know a lot of guys just see a bunch of wires and they get overwhelmed, and it is really overwhelming because it seems like you have to keep track of a million things. It really isn't. Essentially what we want to keep track of right now is what we actually need to have in the engine bay. What plugs actually need to end up in the engine bay to perform the functions that it needs to do. So in our case, what we're really going to need is we're going to need our headlight wiring, we're going to need the wiring that goes to the transmission harness, and we're going to need the wiring that goes to the engine harness. Now the engine harness is super simple. On the SR there's only two plugs, two interface plugs that actually go into the chassis harness, and those would be these guys right here. How do I know this? Because my engine harness is right here, super easy. The two plugs are right here, that's it. Only thing that connects to the whole chassis harness. Luckily, this is on its own long ass sub harness to begin with, so I don't have to extend anything. Super easy. Now the last thing we gotta look at is the transmission harness, which we have right here. It's plugged in. Now on the transmission harness, we're gonna have our starter power, our starter trigger, our oil pressure sensor, our alternator power, our ground, and then our alternator plug, and a speed sensor. I actually got this transmission harness off of my SR that I got for the Z. I didn't need it because I used a Z32 transmission harness. And of course the plugs don't align with my fuse box, but luckily the importer cut the fuse box out of the car with the engine harness, which means I had to connect the correct plugs for it. So I'm gonna have to take my sensor plug, which will basically give me my oil pressure sensor and my speed sensor wiring right here, and we're also going to change my alternator power plug because for some reason that's different too. I don't know why, but that's super easy. We're going to depin these and change the plugs over right now. Since I have the best subscribers ever, a few of you guys actually sent me some depinning tools, which actually made this really easy this time. Alright guys, our connector pinout is now finished. We just have this one plug we swapped over, and we're just gonna do this big one real quick and we should be all set. Both connectors now switched over to my style fuse panel, and we're all set. The trans harness is now all plugged in, so we know exactly what we need. Everything else is garbage. This is some extra sensors we're not gonna be using. This is for my AC stuff. Or this is for my AC stuff, and I don't really know what this is for, but I don't need it. Now my main goal is to figure out what connectors I don't need. I'm gonna cut out, tape it all up, and get it ready to throw into the car. And DJ just showed up!
What up?
Are you gonna fix your car today?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Awesome.
Okay, so me and James just went to the local parts store. I'm gonna put the ATF in, change my oil, hook up the oil return line to the turbo, and Jimmy's reading diagrams over here. I don't know what he's doing.
I'm trying to get this right. Alright guys, so one thing I know I could delete fully, which I'm perfectly fine with, is my AC stuff. My car's never getting air conditioner. Let's just accept that fact.
Why not?
Stop it. But we looked at the relay and it says a condenser fan, and to double check, basically ran through the wires, and so first like clue as what the AC stuff is it says condenser fan on the fuse panel. So we looked it up on our wire diagram thing right here, and we found the plug we think it is because there's a million on here. It says condenser fan, and then the plug next to it says it's a pressure switch. Seems about right. Just to verify, we looked over, we went from the relay to the fuse for the relay, and this one is determined to be the condenser fan. So we have 3 hints to tell us that it's the AC fan stuff, and I'm happy with that. 3 is good enough for me, so we're gonna delete all this wiring out. So we're gonna cut it, and just all the wire that runs back to, that's not on a different circuit, we're just gonna pull out. Well, we're gonna try to. So another plug we definitely do not need is cruise control. They call it a ASCD actuator, but it's actually just cruise control. All right, we're gonna just snip this one.
Keep it.
What's up, RJ?
Hi, Jimmy.
How are you?
See ya.
The boost control. What a fucking mess. What are you doing, Jimmy?
I don't know.
You crazy. If you guys don't know, you guys obviously know this. Jimmy takes an easy, sort of easy task and makes it way harder for himself because his just expectations are just attention to detail, should I say. On full tuck?
No, semi-tuck.
Semi-tuck.
I don't want to, my whole thing is I don't want to like, I want to tuck it enough that the car has no compromise. Like, I don't want to make any compromises because of an engine tuck, because when you do engine tucks and stuff, there's some compromise when it comes to like accessibility and just like honestly function. And with this car, I want to make sure that there's no compromises. Besides this, the only compromise is if I have to change a fuse, I have to go underneath the dash. That's like the only compromise, but I could live with that one. I completely forgot about the headlight motor for the pop-up front end. My car is never gonna be, my car is forever Sylvia, so we can cut that bitch out. Connector harness right here on both sides, so I'm pretty pumped.
Forever what?
Forever Sylvia.
I fucked.
We've been at it for a while now, and though it doesn't, I can't, it doesn't look any thinner to me, but that's everything I've ripped out so far. We're getting there. Luckily, there was a lot of stuff for the AC stuff, and there was a lot of stuff for the headlight motors themselves, between the relays, the wiring, and everything. So stoked we were able to rip all that stuff out. Every wire counts. I just want this thing as simplified as possible, so we have as little underneath the dash to get confused with, to take up space, to everything, and we're getting there. I'm gonna save those wires too, because you know, OEM color matching wires, can't beat it. But DJ is having an issue still with his oil drain. The previous owner of his turbo actually cut the drain, so it's like at a weird angle, so it just kinks the hose. So B-Hall is also here.
I see.
Say hello, B-Hall.
Hi!
He's down there, and he's helping out. I'm over here cutting away, and all I hear is grinding, screaming, swearing. What is happening?
Yeah, people always complain that I make too much noise, and it's just what I do. I'm sorry. What do you want from me?
You want to update them on what's happening right now?
We're making a new oil drain port, I guess you would call it, right?
Sure. So this is on the bottom of the turbo, oil basically just kind of like spouts out of it. It's considered low pressure, I guess. This is what comes out of it. It's this little line right here, and from here it needs to run a rubber line to the pan. Now the angle is all messed up. And the previous owner that we got the turbo from had this all rigged up, and it was kind of sketchy. So B-Hall is working his magic, and he's gonna line it up correctly. So what are you about to do?
I'm prepping it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna mark it, and then we're gonna weld the two ends together. So it sits in there like this, right? And the engine block is over here, and it's facing the wrong way, and the hose kinks because it has to make a sharp angle. So basically, from here, this gives us a section where there's only like a 2.5 inch gap between the engine and this, so we'll only really need like probably a 5-inch hose because of the space here.
So he's fixing the angle so the hose doesn't kink when it tries to feed back into the oil pan. I had to do the same exact thing with my drain feed on my T28 from IC, and it works out. I'm not entirely sure about this one wire, but we're just gonna
Send it.
I'm gonna act confident and go from there. Oh my god, dude. Forgive me, yes. Oh.
This is where Jimmy starts getting out of hand and just like, oh, you don't need this one. Oh, there it is.
Just got it marked up.
Oh, fuck. Beautiful. What are you gonna do, welder?
Yeah.
Bella, bella. Son of a bitch, why don't you focus? There we go. That custom.
Now we just gotta make sure that I welded it in the right spot.
I think I'm all done cutting. It is. Well, at least. Well, I gotta like finish up like over there. But we're good. All of this now is gone, and it's actually looking a lot thinner, surprisingly. I guess. Yeah, somewhat. But I basically deleted everything that wasn't the headlights themselves. You know, blinkers and fog lights, of course. Fuel pump relay, horn, and the like ignition relay. Everything else is gone. I didn't really need anything else. So now is the fun part of just taping all of it up. Yeah, DJ's throwing the elbow in. B-Hall welded up. It actually came out really, really nice for a MIG weld. So there you go.
Thanks, B-Hall. Well, she's in. Was not fun. But now my car won't leak oil and should be able to start it. Put some oil in it. Start it. Hopefully it doesn't piss. Hopefully it doesn't leak anywhere. Oh my god. I'll put this up. Oh my. Oh, this is a high pour, dude. It's a real high pour. Oh, I'm gonna fucking spill it everywhere. Oh! Oh!
Oh, you're doing good.
Nice, spill a little. It's got oil. Fix the oil return line. Gonna start it and see what happens.
Sweet.
Jimmy says, what's the worst that can happen? A lot can happen. Jimmy's... Dude, you taped all of this? You are crazy. You are insane.
It's done.
He's shot.
Oh, I'm so fucking over it.
This dude is shot.
What? It looks great. Doesn't it?
It looks great. Yeah, but you're shot.
So it idles good now, so that's good. But his power steering fitting is leaking.
I knew it was gonna leak there. I was hoping it didn't, but it does.
Gotta love it. Hopefully it's just loose and DJ needs to tighten it, but I need to find some more electrical tape so I can finish this damn thing. There it is, guys. The whole thing is officially wrapped. Holy frick, did that take me forever. That was like a 2.5 hour wrap job, but it's worth it. So worth it. This stuff I still need to tidy up. I kind of wrapped all the plugs individually out as much as I could possibly, just so I have more play with the harness, and once it's all mocked in place, I'll kind of just start attaching it to the main section of it, if that makes sense. This stuff is so nice and simple. The whole driver's side is going to be like nothing. Luckily, this is all on the passenger side, which I have room to spare. Only thing I do left is go through all the wires that I cut out for the fuse panel and just clean up out of the fuse panel. I think I'm gonna leave like 2 or 3 open because these are essentially now just like open fuse banks, which is really sick. I could use those for other options and just go from there. I don't even have to touch that because that's all ignition stuff, but all of this is now out of the harness. I don't know. It's cool, right? I don't know.
Yeah, simplify things.
Awesome. Fantastic. I'm gonna save some of this. All right, we're taking full advantage of all the wires I cut out because OEM matched wire. Why are you on my nose? Are the wave. There's only like a few cuts in here that are long enough to like make it worth keeping. So, but I don't know.
So anal.
No, you know how expensive wire is, dude? Like, especially having all these colors. I'm stoked. This stuff will come in handy soon enough. Pretty stoked about that. And I also kept my like extra relay pigtails. So if I want to wire in an external relay for something, like another switch or maybe even my fans, maybe. Who knows? They'll come in handy. I said I was gonna do it because I'm exhausted, but I finished the harness for the most part. I would say it's done. So we're gonna mock it up inside the car and see how it fits. Now, I kind of simplified underneath the dash as much as I could. I tucked it all nice and like clean, so it looks like there isn't as much there as there should be. So that's all we got now. So we have quite a bit of room to run it up top because the dash kind of goes over it. So we should be all set. Making everything fit underneath the steering column is gonna be the hard part, but luckily the gist of everything I left onto the passenger side. So it shouldn't be too bad. We did Drews and we did Jips and we did those like very quickly just to get the car running, and it looks like ass, so hopefully we can manage to make this one look half decent.
Watch the paint, please. Dude, take that wiper motor off. The wiper
No,
thing.
I want wipers. All right, guys. The fuse panel and everything is bolted up, so the main stuff is now bolted up actually in OEM placement. Now, the real feat is to figure out where we could stuff this literally 6 feet of wire that we don't need underneath the dash. Literally from here to here is just blank wire. There is some relays in the middle of it, but we can kind of shove those underneath where it's accessible. But I mean, if you were to do this correctly, you'd probably shorten your harness quite a bit. This is a lot of harness to tuck. A lot of harness to tuck, but we'll see. We're gonna keep trying to shove it and see where that goes. I was able to get quite a bit of the wires to kind of like coil up over here. Now it's just kind of a dead pocket. It's not gonna get in the way of the dash. Now on this side, there's 2 relays and my headlight and my turn signal harnesses all right here. So I was able to actually drape them down just so I can access them underneath the kick panel, which is perfectly fine because that drops with like 3 bolts, so that's easy. Now we gotta figure out how we could fit all of this. Well guys, that's what's left. You know what? I don't think I was kind of hoping to kind of like get it all done tonight, but it seems as until I can actually physically plug in the engine harness and the transmission harness, I don't want to mount it up just to make sure I have the right length for everything. We're gonna be cutting it pretty close on the length of the wires, so I'm gonna try to avoid to extend anything and see if we can just kind of mock that stuff into the right place to just give us enough wires. But I mean, we got 1 wire out of here, and this should go. Boom. So that's pretty cool. That was long enough. DJ, what are you doing over here? What happened?
Water.
Water, yeah, water, goddamn, water, water, okay, water. What?
I hate myself right
What
now.
happened?
Started my car, put everything together, fixed all the leaks, fixed all the powers. There wasn't a lot of leaks, but fixed it. Go to start it, put fluid in it, and it sounds like shit. It sounds like complete ass.
So it sounds like there's literally a hole in the downpipe, which is like really weird. And it seems like it's coming from like the inside of the block, so I couldn't really like stick my hand in there. I actually burnt my hand trying to reach for it. So
Literally the worst spot you want to have an exhaust leak is there.
Just kidding, it sounds good now. What happened, DJ? You want to tell him?
Okay, in my defense, the studs are in your head, so I didn't want to like tighten them a lot, right? Because they're in.
okay, so DJ got you can cut it, you can shut up. So DJ got a 7-layer exhaust manifold gasket. It basically goes between the manifold and the head, and you have to go around a lot to get this thing tight because you'll tighten one corner and the other side will become completely loose. And so DJ was scared to strip the head because it's aluminum. And moral of the story, his exhaust manifold wasn't tight. So I went around, tightened all of them, and now it sounds good. So are you happy now?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Good.
I just didn't want to rip that all out. I just put it in like.
It's okay. Guys, it's just what happens. Everyone goes through it, but I'm happy that it was as easy as that. So we're all set. So S13 sounds great. Now we got to plumb like 2 vacuum lines, and you should be able to drive it tomorrow, right?
Hopefully.
All right, guys. So I think that's it for tonight. DJ's car now sounds actually pretty healthy. I'm really stoked. I'm really excited to see how she drives tomorrow. The chassis harness, that was an adventure in itself. I'm happy I finished it up today. That's a lot of work, though. It probably seemed like I did it pretty fast on camera. That was like my whole day task. It's just tedious work, and I learned a lot. Every time I take a harness apart, I learn so much more, and I think it's a great experience. For you guys, for you S13 guys, I wouldn't rip your harness apart just yet. Let's see if mine works to begin with, but I think we should be all set. I kept track of everything pretty good, I think. So all we have to do is figure out how to get all that stuff to fit and work and reach all up in there, and that's a task, but we'll get it done. That's it for today. I'm pumped to get back to work tomorrow, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you're still watching, you guys are the real MVP, but that's about it. So there it is. Like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more content, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.